Hey guys, Paradox Gentleman here. This is my first impressions video. I'm doing this on Child of Light. I got my little notepad right there. I think this is really the first time I've ever recorded myself on camera, so I'll eventually get used to it. So, first impressions. Child of Light is a really, really cool game. You start the game and you're already very surprised and taken aback by just how beautiful it is. And I'm not talking about Crisis level graphics or The Witcher 3. Excuse me, I'm talking about the watercolor style. I'm talking about just how elegant everything is. The way Aurora's hair flows when you move with her, and the way everything has a purpose and everything's animated. It's really, really nice. So right away it hits you. This is going to be a very, very pleasing game visually. With that said, though, when I'm walking around before I really gained the power of flight at the end of the first episode, there was a little bit of awkwardness where, because everything looks like it's on the same plane, I'm not exactly used to knowing where I can't jump. Where if there's a platform here, I'm jumping here, but you can't jump here, you have to jump exactly here, even though these two look exactly the same. They both look accessible. So it's a little bit confusing. Now that I can fly, though, I don't think it's going to be that much of a big deal. We'll see. Who knows, maybe I'll lose flight at some point if I encounter Umbra. And speaking of which, I do find that Umbra is a really, really cool, mysterious villain out in the background. I'm not looking for like any rich villain. This is, at the end of the day, a very simple fairy tale story, which I like, which I appreciate. It's refreshing that they aren't trying to shove so much into this, and I find they worked really well. So, yeah, so the environment tying into the graphics, everything feels alive. I remember in the first episode, you can see all these things flying in the distance, and at one point we're walking, and then you hear a boom, boom, and there's a giant out in the distance, and I thought that was really, really cool. Nick. Okay, so Igniculus, as a character, I think he's really funny. Really, really sweet. Cool little firefly figure. Controlling him, it's a little annoying. It would have been great if there was a way to... no, because I get why they made the system. It's just controlling him isn't the most pleasing part of the game, both in and outside of combat. You know, there have been a few times where I took damage simply because just controlling Nick to go onto the enemy that I wanted to slow down didn't quite work the way I was hoping. It wasn't as well, it didn't feel as great as I was hoping. But other than that, mechanically, meh. But as a character, really, really cool. I do like, his introductions, how living in this fairy tale world, he is completely disconnected to Aurora's life and the concepts that she's aware of. Like when he asks, what's a father? Sorry, I think I might be catching a cold. Winter. The rhyming. I think this is the only game I've ever seen where... Yeah, I can't think of another game where rhyming is so prominent in the writing. Everything that the characters say will inevitably rhyme. I think I've noticed a few different styles where sometimes every second word will rhyme, sometimes it'll be the first word and the fourth word will rhyme. I vaguely remember from high school English class that there are different styles. I probably should have paid more attention while we read Shakespeare, but... so that as a whole is really, really cool. I do appreciate the effort that Ubisoft put into making this dialogue extremely unique, which brings the character Rubella to life because she can't rhyme, either because she's just unable to or she's so distraught by the loss of her brother, but I'll talk about her in a bit. So, wrapping up all that, one thing that I really love and appreciate about the game and think is a breath of fresh air is how they portray Aurora as a character. Like when she first lands, she's understandably this scared little child. And I hate kids. I really, really don't care for them. But she seems scared, and you can't help but empathize with her because she's woken up in this fantasy world. She has no idea what's going on. And then she picks up the sword, and it's like she's suddenly filled with this strength, this courage, and this resolve to find her way home. And I thought that was really, really cool. Very, very well done. You know, they're not shoving it in your face that, you know, she's this awesome badass character. She's not blowing up cars behind her or causing mass destruction. No, she's just a character who's overcoming her fears, and the way they do that, I think, is really, really cool. So moving on, I do like the overall story, as simple as it is. You know, you wake up in a fantasy land and you hear a voice, the lady in the forest, and you're guided by her, and you go and investigate. She gives you the power of flight, and then she gives you what is the purpose of the game. Find your way home by connecting the sun, the moon, and the stars. Right away, you're like, huh? What? How am I gonna do that? And I really can't wait to find out. That's what I like about it. Like, it's curious. So right after that, we meet, or we actually get some backstory about Umbra and how she sort of ruined the fantasy world, Lemuria, which is really cool. So after that, we continue. We can fly. It's really, really fun. And then we encounter Rubella. So as I just said, she's a really, really, really cool character. Combat-wise, she serves a clear purpose of healing. She has very good supportive spells, and her backstory, it's interesting. My quip about that is she did come out of nowhere. It's almost like, what was she doing on that platform that we found her on, and why was she just standing there doing nothing? I mean, I get it. I don't think this is the kind of game that you really want to ask too many of those kinds of questions, but it did strike me as a little strange that she just popped out of there. Whereas Gollum, or as we call him, Rocky, you know, the way we're introduced to him, that felt more organic. Like, he actually had a purpose for being in that exact spot because he was broken into pieces by Umbra. So even after a couple hours, I still found the combat was, you know, it's simple, but it is repetitive. And not bad repetitive, it's just there's not much strategy to it. Like, it's really all about just trying to time your abilities and timing the slowing with Nick so that you can interrupt as many enemies as you can and defending when you can't. So, you know, it's not really that satisfying to win a combat because there's not that many variables to factor in. But again, this isn't supposed to be that technically depth. It's not XCOM, it's not Fire Emblem. And for what it is, it's really cool. I do like that you can have two wishes on the different sides of the battlefield, and at any point you can, you know, float Nick over, heal a bit of HP and MP, refill his gauge, which is pretty fun. The music is really, really nice in the game. I do find it's very, very somber. It's very beautiful. But as you've explored different areas, I do wish that they would actually change it up a bit. It's strange that we're already, I think, in chapter 4, and the music hasn't really changed at all. Which is curious for a game that is really focused on its beauty and the feelings it evokes from people. It'd be nice if they could get a few more scores. Other than that, I did like Rocky. I did like the backstory he provides to Lemuria. How, you know, he'd been guarding the courtyard for, what was it, 300 years, and yeah, I like that. Finding his pieces was pretty fun, and he functions in combat exactly as you'd expect. He's a really big guy. He can stun people. He can soak up some damage, regenerate some HP, which is pretty cool. I have high hopes for this game. I don't foresee getting stuck or getting frustrated with anything. These are all just minor quips. Overall, as a package, I think it is a really solid game. Considering Ubisoft, they've been kind of milking certain series for money for the last few years. It's great that they were able to branch out and expand on this. And when you look at the customization of your characters, oh yeah, that's one thing I'd like to talk about. Customization. So the RPG elements of the game, I think, are very, very nice. It's the same team that worked on Far Cry 3, which if you played, you know that it had a really cool ability upgrade system, and this is similar to that. It's the same team. So there are some elements that feel the same in a good way. And so it's fun to choose which of the three paths you'd like each of your characters to take, especially if there's a certain ability you know you're going to want. And after that, the oculi. I think that's a very, very cool and unique concept to upgrade your characters. How you can find these gems in combat, outside of combat, just scattered around, combine them, and each of them has a different effect based on which inventory slot you equip them to. Whether it's your armor, your weapon, or the third one, artifact or miscellaneous. It's really, really cool stuff. So I think that about sums it up for my first impressions. I'm really impressed with Child of Light so far. I look forward to seeing more. And yeah, I should be bringing you guys the next episode. Yeah, soon. Later today. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.